So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the UK climbing down on our own safety certificate mark as the deadline is extended. So on European products, or on UK products now, on certain things you'll see a CE mark, which is an EU certification saying that the product is safe. And this is so products can be sold, they're tested. There are a couple of issues, I think, with certain products. I think Gamers Nexus did a really interesting video, which I'll try and link below, about Gigabyte products exploding, and those do have the CE mark. It's very rare any product with the CE mark fails, to be fair, that has issues. It's mainly cheap imports from China we have problems with regarding chargers, so be careful the phone chargers you use. But this global, British mark is going to be a load of rubbish anyways. And so it's been extended. So if we look at the article here, the government has pushed back a deadline for the launch of post-Brexit product safety standards by allowing companies to follow EU rules until 2023. So, great sovereignty, we can make our own rules, but we're going to follow EU rules for at least another year. It's great sovereignty, guys. Businesses will have an extra year to start using the new UKCA mark, which is planned to replace the EU CE mark used to certify that a wide range of products meet safety standards, including electrical goods and construction material. So, is this UKCA mark going to be respected worldwide? No. The EU CE mark is, because the EU has high standards. And so when you see that mark on a product, even if you're not in the EU, you're probably going to think, well, if the EU's checked this out, it looks legit. But they're not going to do that for the UK, especially since we are constantly hinting at deregulation, which means that our mark will be kind of less reliable than the EU's one, if that makes sense. In the latest delay to post-Brexit reforms, as firms struggle with disruption caused by the pandemic and leaving the EU, the government said firms will be given more time to adapt. I thought, the EU was a joke, though. Why do firms need more time to adapt? I thought Brexit was over. So, they're blaming the pandemic, but this would have happened regardless anyways. The government will extend the deadline to the 1st of January 2023 to apply the UKCA mark for certain products to demonstrate compliance with product safety regulations. I mean, to be fair, they might not demand too many products require the UKCA mark. That might be the way they get around it in the end, once 2023 hits. Business leaders had said that forcing them to meet the new UK rules, which will at first duplicate EU product standards, will come with a significant cost at a delicate moment for the economy. I mean, to be fair, what these companies could do, what the regulator could do, whoever the new one would come in, is say, oh, the EU's checked it, that's fine. And then you can stick the UKCA mark on it. The problem is people will probably question, or the media some people might question it, not many though, because we don't live in a country of critical thinkers. But the problem is that if we do set up our own kind of regulator, which requires proper testing, that's going to cost money to get that CA mark. Getting those kind of certificates costs a lot, and companies might not see it as viable. And so if they don't see it as viable, they're not going to bother getting the UK CA mark, which means they're not going to sell their products here. Because we are, yes, a strong economy, but we are not the end all and be all. And if it's a case of, well, it's going to cost us, however much it costs, maybe 100,000 or whatever, or a couple of grand to get that CA mark. We don't sell in the UK that much anyways. Who cares? We'll just look at other markets. CE markings are required for a wide range of consumer products, from laptops to table lamps to hairdryers. Ministers argue the UKCA mark will allow the UK to control its goods regulations while maintaining high safety standards. But the thing is, we already know the EU is the gold standard. So unless you're going to have higher standards than the EU and therefore create your own gold standard, there's no point in doing this. However, many businesses say the changes will force them to fill in reams of additional paperwork or make changes to their production lines, as manufacturers selling goods in both the UK and the EU will be forced to follow two regimes. But I suppose you can get your products checked for both, so they could have both markings. Is that not possible? So if you have to have two production lines, that's going to cost a lot of money, which will mean that the EU has a stronger market with way more people and way more money. People at that point, companies will stop exporting to the UK as much, because there's no point getting that UKCA mark. It's just going to cost too much. The postponement joins a long line of post-Brexit delays undertaken by the government, amid concerns over the impact on businesses, jobs and the economy, including pushing back border controls for EU import origins, which is meant to happen, either October or the start of January. We're doing some checks in October and the rest will come in next year. That's going to be really fun to cover. William Bain, the head of trade policy at the British Chamber of Commerce, said the delay to the UKCA mark was welcome, but added that fundamental problems in the post-Brexit system could damage firms. Complex supply chains, such as those in the automotive industry, still face having duplicate markings on certain components and incurring large costs for testing as a result, he said. This could compromise the output of these industries, limit availability for consumers. And I think the point I would be most nervous about as we kind of move into a world, thanks to Lewis Rossman and a lot of other people, of right to repair, and where we can buy our own, the EU have put in legislation where you can buy certain parts to fix, your fridge or your washing machine. That's all going to have to be CE tested. But then to sell those products to the UK, they will have to have the UKCA mark. And so if it comes to, say, a pump or whatever, if they're a low margin product and you need that in the fridge, you might not bother selling certain parts of the UK because it's going to cost too much for you to get it regulated, and you still face the cost of selling it here, getting it transported here, which is going to be a nightmare, but also having it stocked as well. If it's a low margin part which you're not going to sell a lot of anyways, when it comes to those things or car parts, you might not bother with the UK. And that's going to cause problems, especially if we are hopefully moving into a right to repair world where things become more easy or parts become more available. It does mean that kind of environmentalist move that we've made is going to be for naught, really, because if it's the case that, say, for example, I'm actually good at doing practical stuff and my fridge dies, but I can fix it, you just need a pump. But I can't buy that pump because that company won't sell it to the UK because they don't think it's worth it because of the UKCA mark. Now I have to buy a new fridge. That's going to cost me a lot of money, and that's going to cause more e-waste when I could have just fixed my current fridge, if that makes sense. And that's one of my main concerns for this. Obviously combined with the fact that companies will stop selling bigger products potentially because the UKCA mark is just going to be another bothersome cost for them. Because if you think about it right now, when, say, for example, LG, right, it's non-sponsored, sells, ships a load of fridges from China into Europe to sell Europe-wide. To sell those products to the UK, they're going to need the UKCA mark, so they might need another production line for that, or they're going to have to keep those kind of stocks separate, which is going to cost them money. So they might think it's not worth it to sell this line of fridges, or say fridges at all in the UK because of that. It's possible with certain products, lower margin ones, which they don't sell as much of. It's possible that does happen, which will limit consumer choices, combined with the lack of ability to fix things. It's not great for the British consumers, put it that way, and it's just a very stupid move. The EU is the gold standard, and it does tell you that we are going to start lowering our own standards, which is shameful, to be honest, especially since we want to be global Britain, a world leader. The only thing we're going to be leading is how to tank your economy in the space of a year. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.